A surprise lineup change came at Montreal Canadiens practice today as we got a new number 2 center likely coming for the next game, and it has some Habs fans kind of happy but also shocked at the same time. We're going to dive into all the lineup talk and the things coming out of practice today, but Jesse, we also got to talk about a few other things, including Ivan Demidov getting benched for seemingly no reason, coming off a 7-game point streak, getting benched the first game he doesn't record a point. We got to talk about that, plus a little bit of prospect talk, notably a lot of the guys going in Laval, and finally, and probably what we'll start the stream with, a note from Arber on a bunch of things, but including how Lane Hutson is potentially being misused a little bit over these last few games. We'll dive into all of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, this live Monday episode. Thank you all for being in here. We got 85 people in here already. We also got a super chat already in there to start the stream, Jesse. It's Simon Desjardins as usual. Welcome in, Simon. He says, I can watch it live. I'm so pumped. We are pumped to have you. We got Francis. We got Joseph. We got Planko in the chat. Ahoy all after a long time. We got a bunch of the squad here, Jesse. I love these Monday streams, and I'm excited to get into the news.
We definitely are. And, when we start seeing a lot of these familiar faces, the Simons, we're seeing the Rogers, we're obviously the Denis, the Marks, the Gregs, it keeps going and going, right? Definitely, it doesn't, Josh, at a certain point, I kind of get family vibes a little bit. After a couple of years of doing this, start seeing that same faces. Don't you have that same feeling, Josh?
Oh yeah, it feels like we're just chatting Habs with all our buddies, all our family, our aunts and uncles, our sisters, our nephews, our, everything, cousins, everything there is. There's all kinds of people from all kinds of walks of life in here, and we really appreciate every single one of you. We got Wazo Premier in here as well. Hello, Wazo. We got a lot of longtime channel members with the blue channel member badges, Jesse. These people supporting for a few months. It's always very appreciated. Happy Monday, says John Raymond. Well, we might as well just get right into the news. What a hot start for the stream. We are pumped to talk about all this stuff today. And I want to start, Jesse, with the article that we do have linked down below. If you have an Athletic subscription, go take a read of Arber Basu's recent article because it is really fantastic, as it often is. But his article, oh, not that, we'll get to that later, talks about, it's his weekly notebook on the Athletic, and he said the coach's desired mindset and how it's impacting Lane Hutson. Now, there was a lot of other stuff in here, Jesse, that we may or may not get to, including talking about Slafkovsky and Newhook, talking about Caufield's shot selection, which is something we've covered on the show before. But the big thing, excuse me, that I think stood out to both of us was Lane Hutson and the impact of Montreal's system right now on Hutson, because we've seen Hutson be that kind of guy to drive the offense, to be selfish, but in a good way, right? He's making these plays happen. He's taking the puck end to end. But that's something we haven't seen as much in the last couple games as Montreal has gone with more of a conservative defensive game. He basically said Montreal followed that mantra. They focus totally on actions that would help the team and are not just good for oneself. A player maybe trying to make a play when it'd be better just to dump the puck in. But then he brings you to Lane Hutson, and he played his most conservative game as an NHL player on Saturday versus Pittsburgh. No head fakes, no end-to-end rushes, just efficiency and safety. And he said, it's good. It's good for the team. But on the other hand, a conservative Lane Hutson's a waste of Lane Hutson. Now, Jesse, we love Lane Train here on the show. I want to see people on the channel members send your Lane Train emojis. What do you think about this, Jesse? What do you think about this take that a more conservative system for Montreal is potentially hindering Lane Hutson? Because I don't think it's that crazy. I think he'll get back to where he normally is, but I kind of think he got a point here.
I think this is a little bit of a reactionary take, kind of with the way that Montreal's had in their game, the big swings kind of defensively playing so open. It's you need to focus on one part of your game. You can't fix everything all at once, kind of in one game. You need to figure out, okay, what's the one part of the game? Where's our bottleneck? How do we kind of figure this out? And then kind of go from there and establish a baseline, right? Because I feel I'm okay with seeing this, but for sure we're missing Hutson, kind of doing those plays. It was noticeable against Pittsburgh that he wasn't trying those plays. And of course, we love seeing them. I love seeing them too. But you just have to know that establishing a defensive baseline, I think it's okay for doing that for a couple games. You kind of get that, make sure, okay, defense, we're playing well. That's what then allows you to open up and then take those opportunities. Lane is going to be Lane. You can't contain him. He's going to want to skate with the puck. He's going to want to make that happen. But I'm okay with at a certain point of just as a team knowing what we need to do. Hutson taking that advice, obviously being very coachable, I think was very commendable for him because, he just wants to get on his horse and really skate there. But at the same time, it's right, but I feel that that'll definitely come. You need to establish a good defensive game. get that going, and then from there, kind of slowly start to implement more and more kind of offensive things while making sure you're kind of holding it down defensively. Like, I think still kind of finding that balance is key, but in order to kind of do that and kind of correct from that big swing, you almost just needed to kind of focus on one thing to kind of begin with, the defensive game. And again, it's like a platform to kind of take off from there. Again, like Martin St. Louis, he kind of compared it into like an interview today. He was saying kind of like a pendulum, like when it swings so much in one direction, it needs to go the other. And that's exactly how I feel about it. I was speaking last night on the show of how, like, I'm okay with them giving away a little bit less chances sometimes if it means they're going to play a stronger defensive game, because that's what they need to do right now. The numbers show we need to play better defensively. We need all hands on deck. But from there, once you establish that, then you can bring in the offense, but not before then. But you have to feel like that'll come with time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, I get the point of, like, hey, Lane Hutson's at his best when you have a free-flowing offense, when he's kind of just allowed to do whatever the heck he wants. Because in my mind, it's like, Lane Hutson has not like, there have been some bad plays, that have cost the team. Like Arpit even mentions, a turnover in the offensive zone when he tries to make a play that's too good, and Seattle comes down, Eeli Tolvanen, and scores the other way. Sure. But those things are going to happen no matter what, whether you're being selfish or not, whether you're not making the team play or are making the team play. Lane Hutson is one of these guys that, for my money, like, if I'm going to say, if almost anyone on the team, just let them do what they want to do and see what happens, he's going to be near the top of the list. So, I do think that, it is a little reactionary, but I also don't necessarily think we're looking at, or he's looking at this. I hope Arpit's not looking at this in the way that, like, right now with the way Montreal's trying to play, it's going to hurt Lane Hutson. I don't think that's not really how, at least how I'm reading it. It could be how he's reading it. But for me, it's like, you're going to see one or two games of this. Because building those habits, just those smarter plays, because, those less risky plays sometimes, learning how to choose your battles, right? And that's what a lot of life is, choosing your battles. And I think Lane Train, as a lot of people are sending in the chat, really awesome. Oh, we got Joseph sending them for Ricardo. We got Simone. We got Daddy Dino sending them. We got all this stuff here. But I think for him, it's like, again, there's a lot to learn about the NHL game, and I don't mind taking a couple games of him being conservative, see what works, see what doesn't, because, look, I mean, right away, we can tell. In a game where Lane Hutson is not head-faking, is not making these end-to-end rushes, he definitely wasn't bad, but he's not that same Lane Hutson we expect every single night. But I think going down the road, Jesse, I think you're very right in the sense that, like, this is just a tiny, tiny, tiny sample size. Like, I fully expect, honestly, by like, the games this week, we're going to see Lane Hutson just like we did in every other game besides Saturday, because he's one of these guys that not only, one, learns very fast, but two, is going to be given, I think, a longer leash. And I'm expecting to see some big things from him. Now, we got some tough games this week. We got Calgary coming up. We got Toronto coming up on Saturday, and I forget the other game in the middle. But it's a tough schedule this week, and I expect Lane Hutson to try and show out a bit.
And what he's being asked to do really isn't so easy. It's like, because in one, Josh, like in my ideal world, like for Lane Hutson, like he's playing this defensive game, but then at other points, when it's his time, he's completely asserting himself over it, taking over the play, pulling a Bobby Orr, going, end to end, and then actually shooting it, like not even passing it to anybody else once in the offensive zone. Like, I want to see that even more a little bit from Lane. You saw kind of early on, look at making an amazing move and then kind of passing, where it's like slowly he's starting now to shoot. And we saw, like, even though he's playing more of a defensive game against Pittsburgh, he still did ring the post on a shot that very much could have tied the game. Like right there, like we were in striking distance of winning that game from playing that brand of hockey. It's funny, like the Montreal Canadiens not too long ago, like it was all really about the defense, right? And then obviously we want things to go a little more offensive. It's about kind of finding that balance, I think, right now. Like Lane has to be Lane, but there's a couple players like that. Like Lane is one of them where it's like, pick your spots, but when it's your time, like just completely own the puck, because a lot of times he is the most talented offensive player out there. But like Juraj Slafkovsky is another guy. I think we're going to get into that like slightly a little bit more later, right? It's like where, again, like asserting himself sometimes in the offensive zone. Like we are starting, folks, sign here in the chat, the Slaf Shoot More petition.
Yes,
like
please.
When he's in the offensive zone, I think that's what Marty's alluding to 100%. Is like, once you get the puck, realize you are one of the best players on the ice, take it to the net and shoot it. Take out of a page out of Josh Anderson's book, but use that, next level shot that you have to really finish it off. So certain players like that, we really need to kind of rely on them, don't you feel, Josh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing. There's a lot of guys, when you look at the future of the Montreal Canadiens, there's a lot of guys on the team now that are, they're still producing. Like, we're talking guys like Slafkovsky and, Caufield, Suzuki. I'm kind of consider them graduated from what I'm about to say, but like, there's a few guys that in the long-term plans, ideally, you have taken that big step. You guys that you're going to have to rely upon in the future. A guy like a Slafkovsky, right? He's gradually getting better, right? His impact is being felt every single game a bit more and more. Those offensive zone decisions, we'll talk about that maybe when we get to the Lions today, because I think we're going to talk about a couple of the guys there. But a guy like Hutson, a guy like Slav, and in the future, we're looking at a guy like Demidov, where they're guys that you're going to have to rely upon. And when you look at what they're showing now, it's like, there's a bunch of things. I feel like my brain's going all over the place, thinking of like being responsible defensively, taking these conservative things like Marty is saying, but also being able to be assertive in your own way, right? And there's those lines of where to do this, where to do that. And that's something that Slav really struggled with early on in his career. That's something that Hutson is not struggling with nearly as much, for at least early on in his career. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how they deal with the changes that they need to make on a year-to-year basis, how they can improve upon themselves. I feel like I did a very roundabout way. I didn't exactly answer, but I just start going off the rip sometimes here. Off the top of the head, right? Because you just start thinking of everything that's going down in the team, and my brain is like, I'm looking into the future, and I'm seeing.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Like that. That's one thing. But to get back to
tell
the
us
point,
what you see.
Yeah, it's what I tell. Okay, in the future, I see. Well, okay, I can't see that far into the future. I can see they're playing a game tomorrow night. I can guarantee you that. That's about all I can do. Yeah. But, right. Slav, Hutson, Demidov, even some of the younger guys now, like a guy like Logan Mailloux, if he wants to be on this team, he's a guy that, based on his skill set, he's one of those guys that you're going to have to rely upon a bit offensively if you really want him to maximize his impact. So being able to generate these attributes, to be able to rely upon these guys, I think will be a big thing going forward. So anyway, does that kind of answer what you were saying?
It does. You need your best players to be the best players and for them to know it and really assert themselves offensively. The quicker that Slafkovsky does this, and even Hutson, which he very quickly is, the better this team will be for it. Demidov already knows.
Demidov already knows. Yeah, he absolutely does. We got another super chat here, Jesse. By the way, before I get to the super chat, I want to thank everyone in the chat here. I see a bunch of people, all the channel members, Francis, Daddy Dino, Simone, Joseph, so many more that I can't even name. I saw David Darcy in here from Ireland as well, saying, Bonsoir, je viens d'Irlande. Hey guys, greetings from the Emerald Isle. What do you ask, David? And then we got, a bunch of people in here, but we got, first and foremost here, we got Simone, who left another super chat. Josh or Jesse, if you have a quarter handy, heads, 5 gifted subs, tails, 10 gifted subs. Do you have a coin handy, Jesse?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I do. I could definitely go get one.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can do something here. Bear with me here. Okay. Oh, can I? No, because I think I only had that on the solo. So what I'm going to do is tell you what here. We're going to go back. We're going to do this. We're going to do this live. Do it live, baby. Do it live. We're going to do, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And we're going to do this one. And then we're going to do this. And then, okay, it's not, we're doing this live, baby. Like what, it doesn't matter. So we're going here and then we're doing coin flip. And then, so here we go. Well, no, okay, this doesn't count. Whatever you see here it does not count because I didn't actually click the button. So here we go. We got a coin flip. This is for Simon. All right, Simon. What did it say? I got to go back and check. He said if you have a quarter handy, heads is 5 gifted subs, tails is 10. Heads is 5, tails is 10. When peek over.
Tail.
Here we go. Flipping it for Simon. It is tails. Simon, you said flip the coin. We flipped the coin. This is on Google. We got tails. So thank you so much, by the way, for even offering that. I mean, thank you so much for the super chat. Unbelievable. Thank you. You absolutely do not have to give 10 gifted. And it took him 5 seconds. Literally took him 5 seconds to do it.
Man.
It took 5 seconds. And we got some of the loyal fans here getting these memberships too, Jesse. We got Frank Thibault, who was gifted a membership. Frank, such a loyal viewer as well. Ricardo Correa, Felix Laram, Long Strider, Rub P, The Zelward, Carlo Serra, the future Mrs. V, Slushy, and Poos Unpoos. All of you are now channel members. Thanks to Simone Desjardins and thanks to the coin flip. And Ricardo, were you the one earlier asking how to send those Lane Hutson ones? I gotta double check. Yeah, you were. So hey, Ricardo, you can go send these Lane train. There you are. He's already in the chat. Look at this. What a sense of community in here, eh? This is great.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Speaking of community, like growing up playing hockey, like can we get an M in the chat for anybody that played mini sticks growing up?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Josh, I don't know, but like in elementary school, that's like basically all we did. Every recess, every lunch hour, like just mini sticks all the time, inside, outside, didn't matter. Can we get some M's in the chat
Oh.
if you played mini sticks growing up in good old Canada?
They're rolling. They are rolling through the chat already. We got 5 people sending the M's in the chat. I think a lot of people did. We played mini sticks as well. M for mini sticks, Joseph. What's going on, Cornell? Well, we're asking if you played mini sticks as a kid. Just send an M in the chat. That's all we ask. We got people saying paper tape puck. And then we got Steady AF saying in the hotel hallways. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I played a bit of mini sticks, but the big thing for me, Jesse, is that a lot of the time, like my friends didn't play too much. I didn't have many people to play with. I played a ton of street hockey with my friends, but we had in my tiny basement, we had 2 nets. There's barely enough room to walk around, but we played 2 nets, full goalie gear in the basement with the full size net. Just be playing. Me and my brother on the carpeted floor, reenacting the craziest saves. So all kinds of memories, and I think we got a lot of people in my friend's basement. They come curved now, but we had to heat them over the stove, says Pizza 603. Yep. Did you do that too?
Oh yeah, we got the gnarly curves on. Like the first kid that did that goes, we're like, what? Yeah. Like that was absolutely kind of next level. I had my wooden one for a while, my wooden mini stick.
Oh.
That was a beauty as well, for sure.
Don't heat that one on the stove. Huh? Well, you never know. You might be able to. David Darcy says, does mini hurling in Ireland count? Absolutely it does. Absolutely, I think that counts. Hurling is a fantastic sport. Something I don't know enough about, but do want to learn a bit more about. But this has been a great stream, fun stream so far. Wait, we got to get back into the news. We got stuff to talk about here today, Jesse. And what better person to talk about than our boy? Oh, I love this. I just love the music. I can't even hear the music when I play it, but I can hear it in my head. I'm going to play it again. I can hear it in my head. I feel the power of Ivan Demidov, the demigod, right now. Unfortunately, he was benched. That's the bad thing about today. Yeah, we got the emojis, just like Ricardo was sending there. We got the emojis in the chat for demigod. So, Habs Nation tweeted this out. Coach Frenchie got his own YouTube channel, too. Go check out Coach Frenchie if you haven't before. But Demidov was benched for the entire third period as head coach Rottenberg decided to roll with only 3 lines. Despite showing promise in his limited ice time, Demidov wasn't given an opportunity to contribute in the game's later stages. A surprising decision, given that he did nothing on the ice to warrant the benching. There was no penalty, there was no nothing. Now, Jesse, I was going to joke about this because he was on a 7-game point streak, right? And their game on, I think Friday, or was it Saturday? It was Friday or Saturday. He didn't record a point. For the first time, like he had a 7-game point streak. Okay, it was snapped. He still played 15 minutes. He was good. He created a lot of chances, but he didn't get a point. And I was going to joke saying, oh, he didn't get a point. He's going to get benched next game. I didn't joke at the time, but it turns out that it happened. He played 5.5 minutes in the first period, almost 6 minutes, I believe, but only ended the game with 8:27. Yeah, you can see there. He only played 3 minutes in the last 2 periods in the entire game, and they lost 2-1 in overtime. This was a close game, and their arguably best player was not playing. He's one of the best players in the KHL, Jesse, and he's 18 years old, and he's not getting playing time in a 1-1 game down the stretch, fresh off of a 7-game point streak, 11 points in his last 8 games. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to freak out again because it's like, this is just par for the course at this point. Rottenberg it is what it is. But I mean, just looking at the, there we go. I was pressing the wrong button. Just looking at the list of the top scorers in the KHL. I hope this is big enough. I'll maybe make it bigger. He's right there, 19 points. He's right among the best. He's still only 3 points off the entire league lead and just not getting playing time. You can see his teammate, Grisyuk there, Arseny Grisyuk right at the top with 22 points. What do you think about this? What do you make of this, Jesse? I wanted to joke about this because I didn't, because like, there's no way it actually happened, and it just did. I guess I'm not even surprised anymore.
It's just a mystery benching, kind of once again, Josh. And what makes it such a travesty was like the absolute alley-oops, like layups that Demidov was giving to Rottenberg. Remember that game that they played together in the preseason where Demidov would just have the goalie like on his back, and then he just have the sure goal, but pass it over to Rottenberg. Just to make, the coach look good. Like, he did this consistently in this game. I was wondering, like, why does he keep passing it when he has the goal? It's like, oh, that's his coach right there. Like, trying to get in the good books. Apparently to no avail, Josh, here, because this is just sour grapes. We know he is one of the best players, period, in the KHL. We know what the future has for him as well, how his game will age. So it is a mystery at this point in time here. But, at the same time, it's like, we know it's just going to happen from time to time, but you almost have to feel like other players on SK have to be upset when like they want to win the game, and when one of your best players isn't out there as well, you have to feel like that can get to the players as well at a certain point, right?
Yeah, like I wonder how a guy like Kuznetsov feels, a guy who has profited very much from Ivan Demidov this season. I mean, pretty much anyone that's been playing on a line with Demidov, anyone that we've heard interviews from, have praised his play, have said that he makes them better. He's a phenomenal playmaker. He sees the ice incredibly well. He has so many good things going for him. And yet, in these crunch time moments when it's a 1-to-1 game down the stretch, he's not getting the ice time. And you have to wonder, right? Like, I know there's probably politics in this decision. He declined the extension, and so it doesn't look as bad if, he put up 0 points last game, maybe we'll bench him the next game. And then it's like, well, maybe that's what Rottenberg was thinking. I think there's more to it than that. Look, again, we're not going to get into these conspiracy theories, but at the same time, when you look at this list, there's 2 guys that are in their age 19 season, because this would be considered, I think, Demidov's age 19 season, even though he's not 19, but whatever. So you got Demidov there, and you have Nikita Artamonov. I think it's Artamonov. I can't really read it fully. But yeah, they're at number 9. And those are the only 2 players here that are teenagers. You got some 21-year-olds, some 23-year-olds, but like straight up, Demidov with the 19 points, especially in the minutes that he's getting, is just absurd. I know you kind of just asked the same question, but like, imagine this is the NHL, right? Imagine you're a guy in Montreal. Like, imagine how we would feel as fans of our team. Like, let's just speak on part of the SKA fans. And I don't know if any of you guys are actual SKA fans, like maybe were before Demidov was there. If you are, let me know. That'd be pretty crazy. But like, imagine you're a fan of the team. Like, imagine we're watching Montreal right now, Jesse, and let's say Joshua Waugh was still on the team to start this year, and he had 19 points in our team's first 23 games, and Marty was just not playing him. He was getting benched every 3 or 4 games. If this happens in the NHL, you're like, I think people are calling the fire of the coach in Russia as well, but like, the fans are getting upset. The players who are playing with the good player are getting upset, and I think that's where, I don't think it's actually going to come back to bite him, because Demidov's gone after this year anyway, but if I was a fan, I wouldn't be happy with what I'm seeing.
And we'd have to talk about it on Habs Digest because, obviously be a major talking point, right? And fans would be perplexed. And, they love their hockey over there too. And you have to feel like a lot of them in this game, it's like they're upset that Demidov isn't kind of getting that time, right? There's a lot of people kind of joking online that there was yet another contract offer to Demidov, after his 4-point game, and he just kind of refused it again. And whenever he's getting benched, it's just kind of as a result of after that contract offer. But I think at a certain point, it definitely does kind of factor into all of this. But at the same time, it's just not really a good look for Rottenberg when at a certain point, you can't really kind of rationale. You can't really, kind of reason behind it too much than really what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's not much more to this, but I see a lot of people in the chat kind of saying there are other things here. We got Demi needs his other half to play a complete game. That's kind of funny, actually. we should play on that word sometime. And then we got Alex in the chat. What's up? He said, Habs 8-3 the rest of the month. Book it. Can't wait for Demidov. Him and Hutson will make magic. That's what I'm excited about. Honestly, can you imagine, Jesse, just for a moment, like, just while we're on the subject of Demidov, picture a game next season goes to overtime, right? You start, it's Suzuki, Caufield, and Cayden Guhle. And you're like, oh, that's such a great overtime lineup. And then you go to the second set of 3, and it's Ivan Demidov, Patrick Laine, and Lane Hutson. And you're like, oh, what is this? This creativity, this goal scoring, this amazing, like, I'm just starting to picture these. Look, I know you don't go to a lot of overtime games, but that trio, to me, the creativity with the finishing, Hutson and Laine already showing incredible chemistry together. Look, where is Slafkovsky in all this, right? Like, he's got to be here somewhere too. The Habs can run out so many good sets of 3, so many good power plays, different things like that. Like, our first and second power play are both going to be great. I don't know, just maybe a little thought exercise before we move on to the next topic.
Oh, gladly. I've been thinking about that quite a bit over the course of the season. What is to come for this team? In fact, we've been kind of speaking about this on the team of what we have to look for, Josh. Like, in my opinion, like, if I'm Marty St. Louis, like, I'm starting with the young guys. I'm starting with Hutson, Demidov, and Laine, even over Suzuki, a Guhle, and a Caufield at this point in time. I just like these young group of players that much. I think that they're just absolutely next level. So again, the beautiful part about all of this, why we have to be patient, is it's going to pay off in having these players together for a long period of time. And that's where the magic happens. Like, Lane Hutson's good now. He's surely going to be a lot better in 5 years from now. He has a chance to be one of the best, if not the best offensive defenseman in the NHL in the next 5 years. That's the type of potential that he has, right? It's about Demidov, not just today, but where they're going to kind of grow and kind of get into play together, kind of these next level players that can really anticipate the play so well, like Demidov and Hutson, the way that they kind of play so well is absolutely next level, and kind of playing with players that kind of are at your speed. I know we're going to get into this with the line pairings a little bit, but like for me with Hutson, I know that Savard is really good pick, but again, I want to see him with Guhle, because if you're not kind of playing like Hutson with somebody like Pace, you're kind of missing out on a lot of what he has to offer. So much of his predicate off of speed, right? Off of catching, your opposition off guard. He's a smaller guy, right? He has to use that. So it's all about somebody who can pick up on that quick. Once you have the advantage, get to press those kind of 2-on-1s type of situations. Obviously, where Demidov is amazing. So, yes, amazing things to look forward to. And, Josh, we're right there, right? Like, I think we're okay to be imagined at this point in time.
I mean, because it's not that far away. It's a reality, right? But I think to just talk for 1 second more on that, like, the idea of, like, Hutson creates so many opportunities by his shiftiness and seeing the game ahead of time. And Demidov does a lot of the same stuff, but he also does it with his edge work and his ability to get to places that other players might not be able to get to. And so it's not just them creating the opportunities, it's how much better they'll be able to make their teammates by seeing the game a step ahead. Now, a lot of the time with these guys, there is a learning curve to get the teammates ready for what these guys are going to do. But once that clicks, it's going to be something special. So we'll definitely be on that front there. But I want to get to the chat. Because as Simon says in another super chat, $2. Thank you so much, Simon. You are so generous every single day. It's unbelievable. And you have nothing to be sorry about. You don't need to say, I'm sorry. Members chat is getting hard to track. Members chat is getting hard to track, but that's not a bad thing. I will still do my best to try and read every single members chat. It looks like a members only chat, but it's not. Anyone who's subscribed can chat right here now. It's getting crazy, Jesse. I'm going to go back and read a few things here really quickly, because I do feel like I got to read these. Demidov's first NHL goal is going to be a true religious experience. Well, yes, it is. And then Ricardo says, true. Should I get a Lane Hutson or Ivan Demidov shirt? Never mind this dilemma. I'm going to get both. You should get both. We might have some kind of shirts and stuff coming out in the future. I don't know, not quite yet, but it's in the plans. We got to brainstorm some of that stuff. We'll see. We can't use names or likeness, but we can maybe get creative. We'll see. And we got good morning, guys, and happy horsey holiday. Today's Melbourne Cup Day in the state of Victoria in Australia. It's a stat holiday in Victoria. Yeah, so fun fact, I only learned about Melbourne Cup Day yesterday because I heard about one of the new Australian Office episodes that was centered around it. So anyway, very interesting. So, well, happy Melbourne Cup Day, Super Gujan. I hope you really, really enjoy. That's great. People said politics and sports are lame. They can be pretty lame. What number will Demidov wear? His lucky number 11 is, well, Gallagher has that. He likes the number 91. Kaiden has that. I don't know, Jesse. I saw people say 97. I don't know if that fits him. I don't really know. It's not the year he was born or anything, but I think that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I don't really know what number he's going to wear, but something in the 90s just feels right with him. I don't know.
It does. And 91, like, I'd have to feel like Oliver Kapainen's a nice enough of a guy where he recognizes Ivan Demidov, 5th overall pick. Like, he's going to give that number. It's not often that players like him kind of come around, no kind of borderline generational type of player. I think once everything's kind of said and done, he will be right. So I think Kapainen will kind of recognize that. I really honestly wouldn't be surprised at all for it to see him give him that 91.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I think you're right. I don't know what other number. There's a lot of interesting numbers. He should go something crazy, like following the phenomenal footsteps of Guillaume Latendresse, and we're 84. Like, something stupid like that. I don't know why it popped into my mind. It popped into my mind because he was one of the only players to ever wear 84 in history. That's why it popped into my mind. And he played for Montreal and Minnesota. He had a 25-goal season in Minnesota. Did you know that? Anyway.
Woo! I'm fan of his game. Those heavy checks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And like he had that goal scoring up. For fans of Guillaume Latendresse, leave some love for him down below. And he's one of the hosts of La Poche Bleue, I think, right? Is it him with Maxime Lapierre?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very cool. So shout out Guillaume Latendresse. Shout out to those boys. They do some great stuff. Didn't think this would turn into a Guillaume Latendresse segment, but you never know what's going to happen on Habs Digest. Will Demidov play for the Habs this season? Probably not, because his contract's not up until May officially, and I doubt they'll be able to get him out of Russia before the official end of his contract, even if the KHL season's over before. We'll see. And then we got, we have so many super chats here. My goodness. We may have Laine for only 2 years. If we were going to be a top team in the league, I want Laine to play every game. I agree. I wonder if the Habs could make an offer to SK not to refuse to bring him over. I think that's, at this point, there's no point in speculating on that. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after the team goes over and visits him, because that still hasn't happened yet. I don't think it's the craziest thing to think that they could try and bring him over. Maybe Russia's trying to extort some more money. I shouldn't use that word. Trying to get some more money out of Montreal. But you never know. We'll see. 90 people saying 97. I saw a comment there. Yeah, so I gotta highlight this comment, because anytime I see someone from Newfoundland, you gotta give them a shout out. It is what it is. Jim Strickland from Stephenville. Jim, how are you? Glad to have another fellow Newfoundlander in on the show. Jim, if you're in the chat, let me know what your thoughts are on the airport situation. I always hear so many things about that airport, and I tell you, it doesn't look very good. That airport was so useful. There was a lot of people that use it. Now it's been shut down, and there's some dude who keeps saying he's going to raise the money and fix it up. Let's get into the next topic, Jesse. This is not turning into Guillaume Latendresse and Stephenville International Airport episode. Let's talk about the Laval Rocket a little bit. Now, there are some other prospects on this list, and you guys can pick out some guys that you maybe want to talk about, because we got Tyler Thorpe here, who's at a point per game. We got Sam Harris, who was a 2023 overager draft pick, who has randomly come out of nowhere to have 6 goals in 7 college games. But we're not really here to talk about those guys. We're here to talk about some of the Laval guys. And you look at this list. I mean, we got Michael Hage too. We got Logan Mailloux. We got Alex Barré-Boulet. We got Owen Beck, Jared Davidson, Filip Mesar. These guys have all been off to insanely hot starts. Joshua Waugh, of course, 7 goals, 9 games right now. But Jesse, right now, the Laval Rocket are rolling. And it's something that we've talked about a lot on the show. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about this with the fans, because what we're seeing right now, as much as we've seen Montreal take seemingly a minor step back, I still think they'll be able to figure things out. We have seen Laval take a massive leap forward, and you got to think a lot of that goes on Pascal Vincent, because this team is still very young, and to achieve what they've been achieving, a 7-game win streak, they're 8-1, at the age that most of these guys are, to see the production of so many of these guys be at or near a point per game has been unbelievable.
We're hearing a lot of great stuff from Pascal Vincent in terms of being a really good communicator, kind of finding that nice balance between kind of being a coach, but also being able to get his message very clearly across. Like, people know what they're doing when it comes to this team. They know their assignments, they know their roles, and we're seeing it bear fruit. Like, it's darkest before dawn, right? Like, in Laval right now, we're starting to see that youth movement. We're stacking up those prospects, but Josh, it feels bad, like, when you got a bunch of prospects, but then you see your farm team still isn't doing that well. You're like, there's a little bit of a disconnect here. As Hassan, we needed to wait a little bit, but it's finally happening. The success is going to happen for the Laval Rocket before it happens for the Montreal Canadiens, and it's really going to kind of carry through as an organization, which is really so big, right? But it's not only the Laval guys. Like, obviously, we see what Hage is doing, right now. A little bit of an injury there. He's going to be back soon, absolutely tearing it up. Like,
you don't think it's the freshman
flu? I don't know, right?
It seemed like he was legit hurt.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he has just been completely dominant. You got to feel like he's going to be back. So better than expected, though. Like Michael Hage, you never know till you see them kind of the next level. We see the tapes and everything, but to bring it at that level, for me, obviously for a team that needs that really high quality offensive talent, absolutely amazing revelation there. We see what Joshua was doing. It kind of continues, right? But Beck is kind of low-key having, great year. We see what Mailloux does offensively. It's happening. And even players we don't really expect, like Sam Harris, 6 goals is very respectable, right? And obviously we're going to do our due diligence of keeping track of these players as it kind of goes on, because obviously their story isn't done, right? They still have that chance to get in the AHL if they can make something happen there. Maybe crack that bottom, 6 in the NHL one day. It's still there. Absolutely. So a lot of these young guys, though, playing phenomenally well right now, again, with the goaltending, is absolutely so amazing to see, and just gives you a lot of hope for the future that it is actually finally happening for the Habs organization.
Connor Hughes has been unbelievable. Now, I'm seeing people saying to call him up. Give it a break. Let Primeau chill for a bit. Connor Hughes is great, but let's let him be. I think Jakub Dobeš, I don't know if he's hurt or if he's sick or what, because Luke Haviland was the backup goalie, called up from the ECHL in Connor Hughes' last game, maybe both games last weekend. So very interesting, but we'll wait and see. But another goalie I did see some people talk about in the chat, Jesse, while we're on this segment, before we move on to the final thing, Jacob Fowler. I mean, can we just quickly, I don't have his stats at the top of my head right now, but I do know for a fact he has been utterly dominant so far to start this season. Jacob Fowler is doing what we all wanted to see from him and more so far. And to see that already, you have Connor Hughes, Jakub Dobeš, some amazing goaltenders, and then you want me to read out his? Oh no, I didn't realize I was not kept up to date fully on the Jacob Fowler situation here. I knew his stats through 4 games. You want to hear his stats through 6 games? I'm just going to drag it onto the screen here, Jesse. Jacob Fowler, stats through 6 games. He's got a 943 save percentage with a 1.34 GAA. This dude is the best goalie in college hockey. I mean, I haven't looked at any other goalie stats. Full disclaimer, but you look at this and you can't help but be impressed. That is insanity. I mean, like, just that's what we wanted to see. We're like, well, how's he going to take a step forward from a 926 save percentage, 2.14 GAA? There's still a lot of season left to be played, Jesse. He played 39 games last year, setting that record for wins with 32. He's 5-1 to start this year. I don't think it's crazy to say he'll play another 30 games, but if he can keep up this pace, like, I mean, he's already one of the top goalie prospects in the NHL, but like, he might have a shot at like number 2 or number 1 on these lists if he keeps this up.
Yeah, he started hot, and to get an even better start than last year, where he was absolutely phenomenal. We know Jacob Fowler, the resident Hockey East goalie of the week, kind of perennially here. It's like
it's his
this
award.
Guy is absolutely phenomenal. It is. It's his name. They should change it to Jacob Fowler Award. Like, to be honest, this guy is on a mission. Though he wants to win the championship this year. He was kind of robbed in it. That last game of the season last year, you have to feel like this is a super competitive guy. And obviously, it's like we just have a heritage just here in Montreal of like having such amazing goalies. We know what a good goalie can do for this Montreal Canadiens team. Sometimes that's all it needs. Get a good goalie, get a Jacob Fowler in there, put a team in front of him, and you don't never know what can really happen from there. And that's what he really brings to the table. Like, just as a hockey fan, I love this guy because it's kind of like an X factor to me. Yeah. Like, not only is he good, like technically, but like just as somebody who likes sports, likes entertainment, like somebody who brings that, like that energy, that fire to the position, that playing, that competitiveness. Like, like there's never going to be a game where you're questioning like, oh, with Jacob Fowler in the game, was he mailing it in? Did he care about? No, you're never going to have like a Kovalev syndrome with Fowler. It's like, that every single game that he's putting on his equipment, he is going to play. He wants to win. And it's just, for me, like, just always so refreshing, so exciting to know where a player like that stands. It's even better to have him in our organization at such a key position.
I'm so excited. Like, I'm beyond excited to see what he'll bring to that next level. Because like you said, his intensity is almost unmatched. Like, but that's something a lot of Habs prospects seem to have. They say the right stuff, but with him, it's like, he's one of those guys where you see it with his body language every single night. One of those guys that hates to lose. One of those guys that has been doubted his whole career. But now there's expectations. Now it's not doubters. Now Montreal fans are putting him on a pedestal saying, you're our next great hope in net. So I just hope he can handle that pressure because that comes with being a Montreal Canadiens prospect. But hey, so far, I don't know if he's feeling it or not, but this dude is absolutely rocking right now. So really cool stuff on that note. Want to get back to the chat before we move into the final topic because we've been talking a lot this stream, Jesse. Just talking about a bunch of random stuff. My gosh, I want to get back because I asked Jim the question about the airport. I gotta go answer. I gotta go look at what he said because I know it's not Habs related, but just get Jim says contentious issue. He screwed the airport. That's a whole different issue. Yeah, he did. You have zero accent. Hard to believe you're from NL. And then I saw someone else, Manny, saying he's not from around the Bay. Listen now, if you wants me to do the accent, I can do a little bit, but it's not. Look, it's not natural, right? It's not natural to me. My father is from Spaniards Bay. Mom's from town. I can't just, like, I don't have much of one. If I start talking with some guys there, I go to a bar, and there's a bunch of newbies in there, I'll be talking like this all night long, no friggin' problem. Tells you that. But, listen, here on the streams, Jesse friggin' loves it, I tell you. Jim friggin' loves it in the chat there. Maybe I sound a little bit Irish too, David Darcy. I don't know, a little bit. It's not much of an accent at all, but I can do it. It's just not natural to me. Jim, so there you go, guys. You got the accent out of me. Put a couple beers in me and maybe you'll hear it some more. We'll move on to the final topic of the video. Jim likes it. It's epic. It's there, Jim. I'll tell you, it's there. It's there. I spent some time in Stephenville when I was driving here to Quebec. I forget what the restaurant was called, but it was on the main drag there. It was like a home style type restaurant, and it was they just served me like a beef. Traditional Newfoundland dinner. I forget what it's called, but it was really good. Went to the Walmart there too. The one Walmart in town, still with the old logo. Oh baby. All right, let's get into it. Final thing. This is what we've all been waiting for. This is what we've all been waiting to talk about this whole stream, Jesse, and it's the line. This is why Jake Evans is in the thumbnail. Marty is switching things up. Marty has Simon sends us $2 saying, here's a toonie for some beer. Simon, you know what? A toonie will get me a friggin' a sip of India. sip a Blue Star. You go down to the Irving, you give them a toonie. They're not going to give you frig all. All right. This has gone off the rails. Look, we're going to talk about this fella here soon. So it's on theme. Let's start with that because it's on theme. Newhook and Slaf together, that line last game didn't look that amazing, but I'm interested to see what kind of dynamic Evans can bring. Because Evans has traditionally not been an offensive player. His career high in points is 29. His career high in goals is 13. But Jesse, he has been one of the Habs' most solid forwards this entire season. And if anyone is deserving of jumping up to that 2C spot, it has been him. We'll see how that works together with these three. Whoa, it's lagging a bit. I think we're good. What do you think about Newhook, Evans, and Slafkovsky? Because I'm not skeptical. I'm just more like anxious to see what this line looks like in a real game. To me, I think it's going to lead to a lot of forecheck and intensity.
It's merit-based, and you're also getting a little bit more face-off wins earlier up in your lineup, higher up your lineup, where you really want. You want to have your first or second line, obviously, having possession. These are your most skilled players. Like, Josh, I even texted you kind of last game as well, where it's like, I was okay having Evans in our top six, even playing the wing, right? We saw him not so far long ago in that cup run that the Habs had with Price, where Evans was on that first line with Caufield and Suzuki there. Like, he's just a player where he brings just kind of that bring your boots to work type of mentality, which often serves well, right? Like, just playing the game, it needs to be the way it needs to be played. Like, playing in, getting on the forecheck, playing in your opposition's, end of the ice, which Evans often finds himself at just with his energy and hustle, is obviously a great way to play. So I really like, even maybe bringing a player like Evans helps kind of simplify Slaf's game, which he kind of needs more than anything else. And at the end of the day, like, Newhook's the same way. Like, he's got to remember, like, he's an energy guy. Like, and that's what I love about him. And it's about Newhook kind of, leaning into that identity for the rest of the season. Just playing your heart on the ice, because if this guy does that, like, we love him, like salt of the earth, living close to the ocean. We know it gone to Newhook there. And if he can really get that, the points will come. I know that he's kind of down with himself, but kind of playing a little bit of that simple game, like getting the puck, take it to the net. When you're an energy guy, that's what you got to do. That's your wheelhouse, right? So I see Evans, having that great effect there. So, for me, obviously having a line in there, it's always made our top six. Like, so it's not going to look quite perfect, right? Kind of in the meantime. But for me, Evans, in that kind of interim, not having a Joshua Waugh there, who I would say is maybe the other guy who you'd potentially look at in your top six, for me, just makes a lot of the sense. Out of anybody in this lineup, Evans deserves that call up into the top six for the Habs.
I agree. And you know what? In this Marty showing that, like, he's shown this season that you show that you have the effort, you merit a promotion, you will get it. We saw Heineman shoot up to the first line. It's lagging a bit on our end. I hope it's not lagging for you guys. It's saying we're not really losing any frames, so I hope it's okay. But Oliver Kapanen had his chance up top. Oliver Kapanen's near the bottom of the league in terms of expected goals for percentage, which I'm not thrilled to see. But, that's fine. He's still learning. There's been people saying maybe the Habs are just going to wait it out the 60 days so that they can send him down to Laval. I don't know. We'll see if he wants to do that, but you're very right. I think Evans, he fits very well here. Newhook plays a very fast up and down game. Not a whole lot of other stuff right now, but I think he can get there. Slaf, like you said, keep it simple. He's huge. He wins a ton of board battles. He shoots the puck. The Slaf shoot more campaign is still, alive and well here at Habs Digest. And if he can get the puck in dangerous areas like this lineup probably can induce, like, you got guys like Evans and Newhook. Yeah, see, people are saying it's stuttering. I don't know why. There was nothing open on my computer except for OBS and YouTube. We're almost done the stream anyway, so we'll be good. But that's the thing, like Evans and Newhook, Jesse, they can create so many opportunities off the forecheck to be able to pass it back to a guy like Slaf. I think that's going to help him a lot. So really, really interested in that. Before we get into some other discussion here, before we end the stream, we got another super chat coming in from Simon Desjardins, simply saying, have a full pint then. Simon, you did not need to do that. That's not what I meant by that. But thank you so much again. That'll be split between me and Jed. That'll get us a pint to share, Jesse, or maybe around, I don't know, who knows, whenever we get together to watch some. We got a lot of people in the chat. We got Justin Jellybean with their first super chat on the channel. Why is Slaf not playing on the first? Should he be put back on? $5 donation. Thank you so much, Justin. Really, really appreciate that too. I think that's the final thing I wanted to talk about. Defense pairings, nothing really new there. But I wanted to talk about the top line. It seems like they're really eager to keep that Caufield, Suzuki, Dach line going to maybe get some kind of spark out of the second line. I don't hate it. Slav has 8 points in 9 games, but he just hasn't looked like the Slav that we saw at the second half of last season. So right now, not that I think Dach has necessarily merited being on that first line over Slav, but at the same time, if you want to give Evans that promotion, this is kind of the natural thing that you do, bump your second line center up to the first. I don't think pretty much every game, it feels like, Jesse, we see Slav spend some time back on that top line. If it's not working, you just put him back there. I think right now it's more about Marty trying some other stuff. See if you can get some chemistry. See if you can get something small to click before you just go back to Slav on the top line. And I kind of don't mind that because that's always your fail-safe. You can always go back to that whenever you want.
I definitely think that Slav does deserve that spot on the top line right now. But what we're seeing in this lineup is indicative of maybe something major for the Habs. And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but it's starting to look more and more every day like Kirby Dach is a winger instead of a center.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that as long as he's playing good hockey. For sure, it would have been nice. Yes, it would have been better for the Habs, but the writing's been on the wall for a long time. And you could argue they maybe given him a pretty, I know there's been the injury there, but historically, he just hasn't been good on the faceoff dot. And that's the one thing. I don't think it's the defense that's stopping him, the point production, anything. Like the points will come, the defense will come from Dach, but it's really the faceoff draws where he's not winning there. That's why they're putting Evans on that second line. He's been actually our best centerman so far this season. That's why he's getting this promotion. So that it's more of a thing about Dach, of putting him in a place to succeed, knowing that probably in the future, if he ends up being a really good winger, I am okay with that. It does leave a big thing still for this Habs, though. Like, we know Demidov, probably going to be a winger still. We can play a little bit of center. Highly 90% chance in the NHL that he is a winger. Put him in his best chance to succeed. Line, we know, same story. That's a winger as well. Like, on our second line, though, Evans is great, but he's not our answer. We know, his point production is definitely capped out, not too high over his career, right? Like, that is something that maybe this Habs team does need to address. That's at a certain point in the future. What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
Yeah, I'm trying to focus here because everything's lagging like crazy. There's nothing open and everything is lagging. So we might have to end on that note. Do you mind repeating the question one quick more time? You said if something about Evans being the second line. I was trying to manage things, trying to close things out. Do you mind repeating that? I apologize, my friend.
No problem at all. The 2C spot.
Yeah.
We know that Dach is looking more like a winger than a center. Yes. Do you think that opens up for Kent Hughes making a play in the future? Do you think that Kent needs to get a 2C for this future? Do you wait for Xhekaj? What's your thoughts on that?
I think Xhekaj is at least 2 years away, which is my worry. 2 years away from being a full-time NHLer. And even then, oh no, our stream crashed. Let's go back. I think it should still be good. YouTube crashed, but I think we're probably still good. We'll see. Yeah, we're back. Okay. So, I think Xhekaj can be in the future, but even then, we're talking 2C. A lot of the time, your 2C is a guy that's you're talking 25, 26 years old in their prime, and Xhekaj is far away from that. Mm-hmm. So I do think making a move for a guy, if Dach doesn't prove to be that guy, then yeah, make a trade. I think a trade would make so much more sense for Montreal. Go after a big free agent. I don't know, right? But I think yes is my answer. Right now, looking at this team, unless you want to play Demidov at center, which is something that he has expressed a desire to do, we don't know how well that will translate right away. I'm not opposed to giving him some reps to see how it works out, but we'll have to wait and see. All in all, I think yes. I think going after another big center is something Montreal should do long-term to try and really make things work. Again, everything's looking crazy, but I think we're good. Someone's saying Zegras in the chat. I'm still not sold on that. I think still try and see if you can get Dach to be that thing, all right? Get him some reps. Guys, he's coming off a year-long injury. We're 12 games into the season after a guy who's been injured for so much of his career. There's so much time to bounce back. And that's the thing, Jesse. With a young team like Montreal has, there's so much opportunity to see these guys grow, not even just over the next 2-3 years, but look at the St. Louis Blues. They were last in the NHL, or one of the last, and they won the Stanley Cup. Edmonton was one of the worst teams in the league last year before making the Cup final. Teams can turn things around. This is still so early in the season, Jesse, and I think we have so much more time to just see what these guys have in them before we make some drastic move. But again, if we're talking next summer, I think, we've heard a lot. We've been a bit impatient about wanting trades, stuff like that. We've heard a lot from Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton that I truly think the summer of 2025 will be that first summer where you start to see them. I know they got Laine this summer, but I think they'll be even more active in big game hunting next year to try and pivot this team from maybe losing team. We'll see what happens, as the season goes on, into a team that's like, let's get some established right side defensive talent. Let's get an established middle six center. I think this is when we're going to start seeing this happen, with especially some guys like Savard and Dvorak coming off the books.
Exactly, because we know that faceoffs are so big. Like, if Dach can kind of show that he can win draws over the course of this season, then he has the chance to be that 2C. But if he doesn't show that over the course of this very season, Kent Hughes absolutely needs to look at somebody who, within our top six, can help us keep possession of the puck. Because you have to feel like that's changing things in a win-loss column. That alone, it is such a key, important part of the game. They did have Marc Burrows coming in before practice today, who was amazing, dominant in his career, played a little bit of time with the Habs, some other teams as well, where he was amazing with the draws. So you see, they're not giving up hope on Kirby. They're going to give him all the resources to try and do this. And you want that. Like, I want Kirby Dach to be our 2C. Like, I want him, point per game, positive guy on the draws. Like, that would just be the ideal world. I want to see that happen this season. But if we're not seeing, even if the points are there, but the face-off numbers aren't there, you got to start looking for a guy sooner than later at that 2C spot that can really win you some draws.
Yeah, right now, Dach and Newhook, they've been trying. Newhook's been getting a little better, but even Evans has been struggling a bit. Suzuki has not had that. He's still solid, like, getting some face-off. Just go sign Manny Malholtra or something. I don't know. How old is he now? Like 45, 50? I think he's coaching for like Toronto. So anyway, maybe don't go get him. But that's why they're bringing in the vets. Well, not the vets. I guess the veterans, the alumni, I should say, is the guys they're bringing in to help them out. So I think that could be good. Bring in Phil Dano. Just want to read some super chats here from Doug Saylor saying, "Hi guys, just got here." Doug, thank you so much for the $14. You have always been such an amazingly loyal supporter. And Jesse, we will try and get some kind of meeting going with them soon. I'm traveling this weekend. By the way, guys, because usually we do post-game videos after every game. Thursday, we might, if you guys are up for it, we're going to do a pre-game stream Thursday because we got some stuff going on Friday, especially me. I got a 5 a.m. flight, and you guys know what that's like. So I can't be, probably won't be staying up the night before. But if you guys want to tune in for the pre-game, that would be nice. That's the plan for now, at least. And we got John Raymond saying, "Would love to see some Habs Digest merch." Well, that might be one of the next things on our little docket there, Jesse. We'll talk about that because I think some fans might want it. Just some quick looks through the chat before we end this off. So I guess that YouTube crashing saved the stream. I'm thinking it was like a bug between YouTube and OBS because as soon as YouTube's page crashed, everything fixed itself. That's one thing. You refresh the page and it works. So we're all good. Hage is a 3C. He's amazing, and so are today's 3Cs. Very true, but we don't know what he's going to be yet. We don't know. We just don't. Florian ain't ever playing top six. I agree there. It's just not. That's not what he's designed to be, right? That's not what he's designed to be. And Super Gouchon saying Galley's in the third line. Next stop is the door. Use him. Have some faith in him. Will boost his confidence. Galley has been really good, I think, so far this year. On pace for 20 odd goals. He's on pace for like prime Habs Josh Anderson numbers, which is pretty good. Super Gouchon saying I'm watching through YouTube, no issues. Well, that's good. I guess that's probably going to do it, Jesse. I think we covered pretty much everything. This stream went a while, but I had a ton of fun. Anything else you wanted to talk about, or if the fans, if you channel member or anyone else who has any more questions, feel free to send a message, send a super chat, whatever. We'll answer your questions before we go. But this has been a lot of deep talk. I really enjoyed this one today.
Oh, definitely a lot of fun. We always love kind of doing the show all together. Josh, we love chatting, kind of before and after that. The episodes and everything, but like, it's just so much funner when we get to do it with everybody else. And we just want to give a big shout out to like our fans again, like for how intelligent you guys, passionate about the game. We know that we get to cover, the team that has the best fan base, in the entire world, so it's just absolutely incredible. Like, we love your comments. We love seeing your takes, the knowledge that you guys bring, so we just want to thank you guys once again.
Awesome. Well, it has been great. And we did have one question there from Pierre-Yves Dubreuil saying, what should the Habs look for as their next first round pick, according to you guys? Jesse, I've mentioned this. I've always been a proponent of this. Look, I don't mind drafting for fit in certain situations, but in general, especially at this point, like, I know there's a need on defense, whatever, but I'm starting to get to the point where, like, if you need something on defense, try and trade, try and do something. Take the best player available in the draft. Like, you're never look at all the teams that like needed defense, right? And they drafted defense. People are talking about the Habs with Reinbach or whatever, right? Like, it is what it is. But But how many times have teams like regretted drafting for need when there was just a better player available? Like, you're never going to be upset with having a guy that projects to be one of the best players in the draft. So like, it's just, that's kind of how I see it. Do you have anything else in mind? Maybe, because I mean, if there's a position the Habs need, it's probably another, you know, solid big defenseman. But again, if you're picking top 5, top 10 in the draft, sometimes that's not the kind of guy you want. You want that guy with super high upside.
A big center is always really nice. We know it's like the most valuable position in the NHL, but at the same time, I'm of the same school. It's like there is so many, we just mentioned on the pod the other day, like there's basically 3 to 4 other GMs that are kicking themselves that they didn't pick Demidov, because besides Celebrini, you have to argue like best player available, like you're putting aside position, need, these other things, like that's Ivan Demidov, and he's going to show why. It's like you're just betting on like game-breaking ability. Like if you're going to invest kind of in one thing, I think that that's one of the soundest investments to make, because those are the players that just take it over, that are the difference makers that you really need. There's a reason why when you're doing a trade that it's like often the best player that's in that trade that is the winner. It's not what position that player, you know, played in the trade. It's his best player, you know, generally kind of wins, right, from what they can kind of factor in. And sometimes it's like a really great player, I would argue in a lot of ways, is like, oh, do 2 good players make a great player? And that's not necessarily so, right? Because there's something said about that X factor, that game-breaking ability of when you really need it, kind of that difference maker that it really compounds and creates, that I think is just kind of the go-to. So yeah, I think Habs, you know, obviously we know that we're not there yet, but you know, I think that obviously when it comes to, you know, drafting for next year, I think they're going to go with the best player available.
Best player available. Whoever Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton think is the best player available. But you're very right. Like an NHL ready center is always really good. John Raymond simply saying, make sure you throw a like, everyone. Yeah, I didn't ask for likes or subscribers. I forgot, guys. We have this goal. We have 225 of you in here now, and according to our stats, at least 100 of you who are watching this are not subscribed. It's completely free. You hit down below. You like our daily videos, weekly live streams, even sometimes some live streams after games if something crazy happens. Hit the button down below. We're trying to hit 16,000 by the end of November. I know it sounds crazy, but based on past pace, I think we can really do it if you guys help us out. So leave a like on the stream and subscribe down below. We'd really appreciate it. Excuse me. I'm kind of building up some gas there. So final few things. I saw Mel Perot. I saw a comment there. Sorry, new at this. Just wanted to say you're awesome. Let's hope we get to meet up quick. Another top 5. Love the anchor, man. That's how I feel after a loss. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Radko Gudas says, Fonko, Radko Gudas is a fantasy beast. Dude just gets hits and blocks and nothing else, and that's what you need sometimes, is the core of your team. Wow, a few channel member questions here at the end here before we end this off, I guess. What about the D coach? Are we happy with the status quo? The D coach? Well, we don't have a specific defenseman. Oh, Robida. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Young guys. I'd like to see some progression, but like again, I just think it's too small a sample. What do you think?
I think that, like, I don't know, like with Marty, I really thought that he was going to bring on like an assistant with a little bit more experience. And I know that's been a big thing. Like you just have to think like Marty didn't have the most experience. Generally speaking, you kind of bring in somebody with experience to kind of insulate him a little bit. I was kind of looking for that. It was already kind of a young, you know, with Alex Burrows kind of being there before and everything else. Like some former players, like they're fresh off the ice, like not too long ago. So sometimes getting a little bit of that longer perspective is kind of great. I think it's, you know, he's definitely new into that position. And obviously, you know, as a former player has a lot of goodwill, I think, built up within this city and this organization. But there's definitely something to be said. I would, you know, in my opinion, know of maybe going with a little bit more experience in the coaching department with the Habs, you know, at least in one position in the future.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. And, you know, we've been talking about that. You maybe need some experience. And look, Elliot Friedman said on 32 Thoughts today, like, there was no player he ever interviewed that was more proud and had more pride than Martin St. Louis, a guy that was like so proud of everything he did, but also wanted to always show that, you know, he deserved that. He earned that, right? He always wanted to take that next step to prove to people that he could do it. He was always doubted. I truly believe, I am a very big Martin St. Louis truther, and I truly believe he will show those exact same characteristics with coaching. But like you said, Jesse, like in hockey, you don't get there just by yourself. You do need a good group of people around you. And so maybe some more veteran coaches, some other things going around there could really help Marty as well. Final things here. Oh, wow. Another super chat from Simon Desjardins. Simon, that's your 20th super chat on the channel. My gosh, we cannot thank you enough for all your generosity every single day. Just says, good show. Leave a like. Guys, we're 9 likes away from 100. I'd love to hit 100 on this. This would be an awesome stream if we could hit 100. So thank you so much, Simon, again. Final messages here. Have a great night, everyone. From Frank. Have a great night, Frank. People just saying that. Super Goujon. Big Bird. Yeah. he also said, Friedman also said Habs aren't a destination. He said they're not a destination yet because not many people want to go to a team like Montreal while they're still losing games, which I do agree with. But he did acknowledge that once they start winning, it very well could be. So, great stuff. Any final closing remarks, Jesse, before we end this one off?
Well, this has been a fun one as always. It's always a great episode when we get to hear you speak in your native tongue a little bit. So thank you for. Yeah, definitely. We definitely had a blast here today.
Well, boys, listen now. If you enjoyed that stream, leave us a like. We would really appreciate it. I'm getting more Irish. It's hard to do. Like I told you, it's not natural. It's like I can do it. It's sometimes it sounds like I'm making a mockery of my own accent. You should. Before we go, I got a little audio clip of me when I was younger where you can hear it. So if you stuck around there's still 220 people here. If you stuck around at this point in the stream, you're gonna get to hear a little bit of young Josh with his Newfie accent. I hope it comes through the mic. Let's crank the volume here. Where am I? Where is it? Hold on with me. Bear with me if you guys really want to hear. You probably, honestly, most of you probably don't even care. All right, here it is. This is Christmas time. There's that new. Look, that's wicked, man. Boys, that's some nice now. Yeah, he heads down to the Irving down at the end of the street, gets me a pint. Can't get a pint at the Irving. What am I even? If you enjoy, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We hit 100 likes. Really appreciate you all. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We might get even more crazy the next time. See you guys later.